Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the new moon in Virgo taking place on September 14th at 9:39 p.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. This will be the light worker energy update. Really briefly, I want to let you know that if you either have questions about this new moon or the full moon and new moons of the fall and what's coming up as we head into the close of the year, there is time available in my calendar this week and early next week. Would love to have a chat with you. And if you stay tuned until the end, if you happen to be new, I will be doing something called First Look, which is a quick peek at the lunation after this. Believe that will be the full moon in Libra. Don't quote me. I'll know when I pull it up for you guys. And then I'll walk you through my quick impressions of that so we can take a look together at how the energy progresses from here to there. This new moon takes place at the 21st degree of Virgo here and is trine Uranus and Taurus here. Trine means 120-degree angle of ease. We've got an opposition to Neptune and Pisces there. And we've got another trine here to Jupiter as well in Taurus, as well as a trine from Pluto there inside of Capricorn. Wow, 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 wow. Talk about a moment and season of great change happening greatly. I mean, I don't know another way to put it. It's like monumental shifts and transformation. We could be seeing a lot of Uranus surprises in the third dimension that we didn't expect, and a sense of transformation that's spiritually felt in the third dimension as this moon locks into place as early as September 9th. And we progress from 9/9 to 9/10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 to where this new moon is. I'm seeing that there's spiritual transformation that we may be feeling in the physical, almost like a sense of like pregnant pause, or a bit of pause isn't the right word, but there can be this sense that something's about to happen or something's already afoot, is the best way that I can put it. And you would be right with this particular kind of energy. Pluto here specifically deals with the kind of changes related to endings, integration, and new beginnings. Uranus deals with the kind of transformation that deals with evolution and quantum leaping, skipping steps into something new and next. You put these together in concert with one another, which they are right now. They're harmoniously aspecting one another. You get life changes in your physical structures of your reality, since we're talking about earth signs, Taurus and Capricorn here. But then you add to this an earth sign new moon, and we have a potent season of new beginnings, which is very interesting because Virgo season is a harvest season. And so what we're getting here is alignment here on Earth to output what we have dedicated ourselves to. Virgo is about dedication as manifestations in form. And you'll probably feel it before you see it, with Neptune opposite this particular full moon, or sorry, new moon, for those who are spiritually sensitive. Or if you have Earth placements, the dominant influences of this particular new moon are Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto there, like I mentioned. And Neptune is sextile to Pluto and to Uranus, and Neptune really kind of harmonizes some of this hardcore transformational energy that Pluto and Uranus are bringing to the table. Normally, you'd probably, if you've been here with me on the channel for a long time, you already know that me personally, all the planetary energies that I've had to really grow into appreciation for, it's Neptune, because Neptune can create a little bit of fog, sometimes confusion. It's like trying to grasp a fistful of water or a fistful of air. Neptune's energy is about not having control and things coming in or going out without us necessarily being able to control it. And so, in the position that Neptune is in with relationship to Uranus and Pluto, we actually have a lot of benefit as Neptune can be quite harmonizing and smoothing out of Pluto's hard and permanent endings and Uranus's lightning fast changes. Okay. There's a spiritual cultivation in this. Hopefully, all of you all are feeling that and having that experience of spiritual growth that's really leading to a physical manifestation. Now, here's the deal: energy is agnostic, it's impartial, and it will be operated whether we consciously are operating it or not. As the harvest season, which is end of summer here in the northern hemisphere, end of spring in the southern hemisphere, what we are literally experiencing in the third dimension at this time will be the results of seeds laid down from 2 seasons prior to this. So if you stay with me, I'm going to walk you through some timeline work here to really help you understand why what's manifesting in material form for you at this moment is happening at this moment and how you can get better, more, greater aligned with either the desires and dreams of your heart or what you know you have on plan for your spirit and its growth and its traverse on earth at this time. Now, this is a new moon in Virgo, and Virgo is, let's just see here. I gotta stop that. Oh, might have to cut that out. Okay. Virgo here, new moon in Virgo. Virgo is a mutable sign and an earth sign. Okay. So, of the modes, the mutable signs are the ones that bridge and transition us from one thing to the next, one season to the next. Earth signs are the signs that specifically deal with the element of earth. So, mutable signs are Virgo, Pisces, Sag, Gemini, earth signs being Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo. We have a mutable earth new moon at this moment. In order for us to understand in this new moon season what's coming forward to us as harvest, Virgo is a harvest season, we need to look back at the last earth new moon and the last mutable new moon because they are all connected. So let's have a look. We had a new moon. Let's see. Have the date here. We have a new moon in Taurus. That was the last Earth new moon on May 19th. So I'm going to show you guys that. I want you to think back to your life in mid-May. What was going on? What were you thinking about? What was coming up? What kind of things were presenting themselves? There is our new moon inside of Taurus. Timing wise, it was a little earlier than in the day than when I'm recording this now, but there it is. And we have this particular new moon sitting very closely aligned with Uranus as well. Got this particular new moon having a giant conversation with Pluto at that time as well, and Neptune, highly featured. So thematically, we've got the same planets in play. And we also have Mercury sitting just a little bit behind, but we'll get to that in a moment. So think back to your life then. What kind of experiences were you having? What were you talking about? What was coming up at that time? And then we also want to have a look at the last mutable new moon, and that would have been the new moon in Gemini. And date for that was June 18th. So roughly 1 month later. There we go. And there is our new moon in Gemini. Again, would have taken place much earlier in the day than when I am recording this, but So you get the idea. Moon conjunct Sun here in Gemini. Late degrees of Gemini, we still have in play at this particular time, at least Neptune in the conversation. We've moved on from Uranus and Pluto is in conjunct, but Neptune is definitely on the scene at this particular new moon. Now, if you've been with me for the duration of the year, you already know that we spent the first 4 months of the year talking about how this was a major year of manifestation. Manifestation, being able to call it in, being able to name it and claim it, being able to literally see the designs of your particular version of heaven here on earth on this side while you are living. Okay. The new moon in Taurus season back on May 19th was going to be the beginning of us straddling two worlds. The one that grew was going to be the one that we gave our attention to. And I remember talking to you guys specifically about that in great detail. Pay attention to what it is you want. There's going to be old stuff coming up. It's going to be in your face. Don't invest in that with your energy, time, and talk. Turn away intentionally and invest in the things that it is you want. Okay. What's interesting about this is that now that we've come to the new moon in Virgo, we've got these connections to these previous two lunations. We've got this harvest new moon at a season of new beginnings. Is now we've got this opportunity to see, to really kind of check, hey, did the things that I planted or was trying to manifest, or more so, I think the better way I can put this is, now that I can see what it is I've planted because it's come up as harvest, do I like what I put down? No? Okay, great. Mutable season, mutable new moon. Mutable represents change. Now's the perfect time to shift it, to change it. I don't like where my head has been. I don't like where my money has been. I don't like where my heart has been. I don't like where my health has been. I don't like where my work has been. Now is the moment to go, okay, I see what I was doing between May and now. I may have been paying attention to some things that didn't quite work for me. Now I can actually shift my attention to get better things, because this is a new moon. It's an opportunity for a new beginning in the midst of a harvest moment, which is really, really, really exciting. So I want to walk you through astrologically some of the mechanics of how to work this, because this particular mutable earth moon is going to be connected to the next mutable and earth new moons. And I'm going to show you those and the timeline so that you can understand from a timing perspective how literally in between two trapeze bars we are right now, and how to not freak out and fall, but actually get yourself to the next trapeze bar. So hang in here. We're going to pull up some additional dates. We had that new moon in Taurus. Let's go here, June 18th, May 19th. That was our new moon in Taurus on May 19th. Now, again, notice that we have Mercury. We're going to deal with what that means in a moment. Mercury in position and in communication to this particular new moon right behind it. Okay. And approaching the new moon within several days of the new moon period. Okay. Then we also have, let's get to the new moon in Gemini. Again, here's our new moon. We have Mercury right behind it, approaching the new moon location within several days. Okay. Now, let's get to this new moon in Virgo. Here's our new moon, and here's Mercury right behind it. Okay. And it will approach that particular new moon point within days after the new moon. Now, little bit of an esoteric astrological rabbit hole. Um, New moons are consistently available for use for creating new. Full moons available for closing out old. Okay. Planets that cross over the new moon path within 4 to 7 days of that new moon, post the new moon, they can be used and will be used to deliver the results if of that new moon in due time. Now, you may not recognize that you're using it, but it is still getting utilized. Okay. Now, this is where authority comes in. This is where personal power comes in. Okay. It is not uncommon. And I just want to highlight this for all of my astrological geek friends out here with me, for Mercury, Mars, Venus to travel in close proximity to the sun and the moon at new moon and full moon lunations. It's very common. They move quite quickly because they are our inner planets. They sit closest to the sun, just like we do, and move fast around the sun like we do. So transit period is anywhere from 3 to 5 weeks, and they tend to run in a pack. Mercury, Venus, Mars. All right. As our inner planets, astrologically, we consider them to be personal planets. Here's Mercury, here's Venus, here's Mars. Okay. Personal meaning they impact our personhood. They represent parts of our core personality. Venus being our receptivity and desires, Mars being our action and our capacity to go out and get, Mercury being what we think and say. So, with Mercury coming up behind all three of these new moons, the ones that I just showed you back from May, June, and now this one, with Mercury coming up behind these three new moons, the point I'm making for us is that during this harvest season that's aligning our 3D world with seeds that we planted previously, we have got to stop talking about things we don't want in complaint, in just, in commiseration, with the, yeah, me too. You're so right. I agree. It is, he is, they are, she is that awful. Even in just explaining the situation to friends, sometimes when we are going through stuff, the absolute worst thing we can do is just air it in a setting where the support for solution does not exist, i.e., with a therapist or a coach or somebody who can help you actually strategize. Speaking is a manifestation tool. When we are speaking stuff out of our mouth, we're literally, and I love this, my coach, Yielded Vessel, said this over on her channel, but it bears repeating over here for you guys. Our breath is literally life force energy. When we are speaking, we are literally breathing life into things we want or don't want. And so it is so important to mind what's coming out of your mouth during this particular new moon. And the previous ones, you can't go back in time and change, but I'm giving you the tool that you need in order to start getting more of what you want reflected back to you here on Earth when we get to the future mutable new moon and the future Earth new moon, which are going to come up fairly quickly here. Okay. We have to stop doing that and start talking about what we do want in validation, in affirmation, in declaration, in agreement, and decree it to bring it into form, especially with energy as powerful as new moons, and especially with us being as powerful as divine creator beings incarnate. With our mind and our mouth, we need to lean even harder into the ability to speak into form the desires of our heart. And this particular new moon only heightens and amplifies that because it's part of the Mercury retrograde cycle. Mercury is consciousness and communication. Virgo itself, the sign this new moon is in, is about determination, decision making, discernment. And so, kind of being loose in the mouth, like just kind of being fast and free with words, can actually really come back to bite us in the butt in the season ahead. And we're going to talk about that in a moment because there's a major manifestation portal that opens up in 2024 that I want you to start preparing for now, because it's what you are planting as seeds now, or the way you're adjusting what's coming up and being reflected back to you in harvest now. It's what you're doing now that will set you up for the way that is going to go. Okay. So I'm going to prepare you for it as we start moving toward it. But I need you to understand how critical adjustments in the now time are going to be, especially if you're looking around your life in any area. It doesn't matter. Health, mental health, physical health. It could be work, service, projects, creativity. It could be your money, any area. It could be relationships. If there's any place in which you are less than satisfied and feeling like, you know what, I don't feel like I'm living the best I could be here, this is the new moon that you can harness to make adjustments and get fulfillment in the fullness of time. Okay. So I bring this up because within 10 days of this new moon, like I said, on 9/24, Mercury will have already stopped being retrograde on the 24th. By the 24th, it'll turn direct. And then it's going to lock into the position right here where this new moon is, and we're going to be able to amplify this new moon with what we say and what we think. So even though this is a time of reflection and mirroring, Mercury retrogrades always are, we get to see in the mirror what's been coming out of our mouth. Getting to see the results of what we previously thought and spoke at lunations past, this is also a time where we can perfect and make correction. And that's what Virgo does. And get even at this particular new moon, because of Uranus's influence, for some of us, we're going to have the power to get instantaneous results. Because of Uranus's influence, Uranus brings a lightning fast movement and growth. And Jupiter here is going to amplify Uranus's work, because Jupiter expands and brings opportunity to whatever he happens to be touching, which at this point is, yes, this Uranus and this Mercury retrograde. Okay. And so as Mercury goes direct on the other side of this new moon, like literally, like you could speak some stuff out the minute you hear this and get results, boom, right on the other side of this particular new moon. Okay. Powerful time. We're getting the benefit of a harvest season at a new moon, which allows us to course correct for new beginnings. Okay. So I'm going to show you the next Earth new moon now so that you can understand the full cycle of timelines here and how they connect together. The next Earth new moon is going to be the new moon in Capricorn on 1/11/2024. I can't believe we're already talking about 2024. That happens so fast. And here's that particular new moon here in Capricorn. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. And we'll have had, and this one is going to be trine Uranus and Taurus. There's Uranus again. So we've got that again, lightning manifestation energy here with Uranus and Taurus. Taurus being an earth sign, the world of form. Uranus being the hand of divine change, super fast movement in the third dimension. Okay, that'll happen there. And again, we have Mercury at that time right behind the new moon, preparing to lock into place within a few days of that particular new moon. And that's coming up right on the other side of the holidays. Okay. And then we have the next mutable new moon, which is just before that. So that's 1/11. We're going to go to 12/12. That's the next mutable new moon on 12/12 of this year. It's only 3 months away, 90 days. So here is our mutable new moon in Sagittarius. And we've got Mercury just out in front of it. Okay. But in between 111 and 1212, we've got a Mercury retrograde on that starts December 13th. So basically within a day of this new moon, Mercury's going to back up. Mercury's going to go forward again. Okay. And so this will be all about our actions because this particular new moon in Sagittarius, there's Mars sitting with the new moon. Mars, again, is one of our manifestation tools, actions and behaviors. Mercury is about thoughts and words. Okay. And so this one's going to be all about our actions instead of our words. But because this Mercury is trine Jupiter, here's Jupiter and there's Mercury, and they're in harmonious conversation. The Mercury retrograde will hit the new moon spot almost exactly and really have, when words and actions align, extremely rapid movement for things coming into form. Okay. And so that's right as we close out the year, December of 2023. That's literally 90 days away, guys. Like what you're doing now matters. Don't think it's so far. It's not. It's going to be here before you know it. So let's just go back. Mercury, so heavily featured. There's a huge emphasis on what we're allowing ourselves to think and say. And boy, oh boy, leave it to a Virgo new moon to have me in the research trenches trying to discern how the energy is shifting and how we can all use it. Geez, oh geez, oh geez. I'm really glad I could figure it out, but Virgo, please have a seat. I've had enough. My little brain has done all she can do. Listen, y'all, here's the deal. Earlier this year, I taught a workshop called Manifestation Mastery. Some of you guys enrolled in it. Some of you asked me after the doors for enrollment closed, like, please, 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 can I just have access to it? Because while we have the design of how we are meant to create built into the human body, literally it comes from the head and the world of ideas through the throat gateway and into the hands and the heart, out the body, so that we can literally build with our hands what we saw in our mind. Basic blueprint. It's in the design of who we are. Each of us actually also has a very personalized blueprint for manifestation and creation based on our chart, utilizing house number 5, which is the house of creativity, and whatever sign and planets rule that house for you, detail for you your pathway to personal manifestation. So if you've ever done stuff like scripting or visualizing or trying to fall asleep in the state of the wish fulfilled, or you have attempted to act as if, and those strategies didn't work for you, but they worked like magic for friends and family, I want to tell you, it's probably because they're not aligned with your personal 5th house and your personal blueprint. So if you're stuck and you see some of what you want and some of what you don't want, or none of what you want in the 3D as we hit this checkpoint of the new moon in Virgo, and thought you had planted seeds back in Gemini or Taurus season, now's the time to book a reading. This week is open and I can look at your personal manifestation techniques according to your chart, while minding your mind and your mouth as is a general strategy. Getting a more detailed and specific guidance from your personal blueprint is going to help you bring these things into form by the time we get to Sag and Capricorn season in the next 90 days. So you can book just below this video at kmoonastro.com. Link is there, but you can also go straight there as well. This week is indeed open. It's very rare that leading up to a new moon or up to a lunation, the actual week the energy is ripe is the week in which I have available. Normally I'm booked 2 to 3 weeks out. But if you want to talk this week or early next week, while this energy is ripe, this would be the time. Okay. Now, also unfolding at this new moon, I want to show you guys some real important stuff about money and love. Also unfolding is Venus finally moving direct. So you guys know we've had a Venus retrograde for roughly the last 40 days. Venus is still in shadow through October 3rd. Okay. So the Venus retrograde dates would have been Venus entered the shadow range on June 19th. And then she stationed retrograde on July 22nd and began to move backwards then. And now she's moving direct. Okay. What happens is she's moving direct, but she doesn't get out of the retrograde zone until October 7th. So thematically, I want you to think back to what was going on in either your love life or in your financial life right around June, July, mid-June, mid-July. That particular moment in time would have opened up, unearthed, or unleashed into your life the themes that you had to deal with during this Venus retrograde, the things that needed your immediate attention in order to be able to move forward. Now, Venus traditionally, she represents love and money. What may have happened, and what's very common to happen during a Venus retrograde, is potentially some misunderstandings or breakups during a Venus retrograde are very common. It's also very common when breakups occur during a Venus retrograde or financial holes open up during a Venus retrograde. It's very common for those to not last. The Mercury retrograde that we are in the middle of now is only amplifying this. So if things went a little sideways, either in your business, your job, or your career between June 19th, the time Venus entered shadow, and September 15th, when the Mercury retrograde ends, I want you to know that number one, you're not alone. And number two, it can and will get worked out with a lot more ease in mid-September onward. Relevant conversations, again, that's Mercury, should have potentially already taken place or already be underway or be in the midst of getting handled in the now time. Now, this will take some creativity and flexibility. Okay, want to be clear about that, because typically the solution isn't, well, let's just go back to the way things were. No. Venus and Mercury retrogrades tend to reveal and dredge up where things need correction. And so if there was a breakup during a Venus retrograde, it was for the purposes of revealing what's not working and what needs to evolve. If there was a breakdown in business or money or career during this time, it was to help you understand where you have to evolve in your creative authority. Again, creative authority is Leo. Venus retrograde happened in the sign of Leo. You have to step up in order for things to begin to move forward again. You have to be willing to take some sort of new action, okay? And it'll require some level of flexibility, but the opportunity to get stuff all the way worked out is definitely here with Jupiter square this Venus retrograde now going direct. It is so fortuitous. There's lots of money-making opportunity and potential in this if you're willing to be creative, okay? And it's just important to be accountable. I think that's the other thing too, because as Venus comes out of retrograde, here she is speaking to Juno. Juno is our collaborative partners. It's going to be really important to be accountable in any situation where we're ready to rectify with Venus retrograde in Leo. There was an opportunity, or this is, I should say, an opportunity to fully own who we are, who we're not, where we're living out of alignment with our own truth, and make necessary adjustments. Whew. And so, because all of this went down inside of a container of a longer lasting Pluto retrograde, okay? Pluto retrograde square transiting or squaring the transiting nodal axis. This is a big deal. Pluto takes 248 years to get around the wheel. These nodes lock into a square position with Pluto rarely. It's not frequent. But when we have a planet in retrograde square to the nodes, what we're getting is an opportunity for second chance. It's an opportunity to rectify some things that may have gone sideways. It's an opportunity for growth, and an opportunity to clean up any missed step from the past. Okay. And so, with the Venus retrograde happening inside of the Pluto retrograde, meaning the dates of the Pluto retrograde are lasting much longer than the dates of the Venus and the Mercury retrograde. That makes the Pluto retrograde the more impactful retrograde story and dictating how the Venus retrograde will go and what kind of themes will come up. Pluto specifically deals with our authority, deals with power, deals with fear. Okay. And so this Venus retrograde would have demanded that we were willing to take creative authority, that's the Leo part, to own certain parts of ourselves and be creative, confront certain fears so that we could own and step into our power in any area of life that happened to go sideways during this kind of June through September season. Okay. There were opportunities from crossroads and choices during this season. And this Venus retrograde was going to be full of them. Like I said, it was an opportunity for a lot of second chances, things coming up from the past needing to get rectified, or opportunities that were missed in the past needing to be taken advantage of in the present. I know I had some major decisions to make about my finances regarding taxes, and no surprise, Pluto deals with taxes, and who I could partner with to help me with that, as Juno and Venus specifically deal with connections. Okay. But I don't know. I'm really curious about this Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, Pluto retrograde, and what kind of choices you were faced with. Drop me a comment below and let me know. Was it love stuff? Was it money stuff? Like, what kind of stuff came up for you guys during the heavy duty retrograde season? Super curious. Now, in a completely separate video, if you guys want, I'll address the writer's strike and the actor's strike and the other major strikes of 2023. Just let me know in the comments if that's of interest to you. I've been doing as we go updates with it at each lunation. But the significance of this lunation and the amount of time I was going to have to take to detail it for you meant that if I brought that into this conversation, it was just going to be like a 90-minute video. And I was like, no, we're just not doing that. So if you want me to address the writer's strike and the actor strike and the other strikes of 2023 and how that's all impacting economic conditions and when these strikes may see movement and why, just let me know in the comments, so that so that I can make a separate video about it. I got into some research about it as I was preparing for this lunar update, and I was like, dang, this is fascinating, but not going into this lunar update. This would just be way too long. Okay, let's talk about the Jupiter influence. Also, let's talk about the Jupiter influence. It's also making the new moon incredibly hopeful and optimistic. So that's what Jupiter does. It brings faith, hope, and optimism to anything he touches, and expansion and growth, because that's what faith does. It optimizes things and it brings expansion to things. So Jupiter's fertilizing this particular new moon and making things really hopeful and optimistic. But I want to give you guys a little bit of a caveat here, even though things, may seem like, they're going so well, this is lovely. There's a little bit of a pothole here that you could fall into, and I want to help you avoid. Remember how I was talking about personal planets being foundational for manifestation? Venus is desire and receptivity. Mercury is thoughts and communication. Mars is behavior and action. Mercury is really empowered by Jupiter at this particular new moon. Even though Mercury is retrograde, it's still helping our particular Mercury at this time. Okay. And it's going to take a little bit of extra effort on our part for Mars to be empowered. And here's why. Here's Mars behavior and actions. Mars is sitting directly opposite Chiron, and that conversation only gets louder the further away we get from our new moon. Okay. The deal here with Mars opposite Chiron, Chiron can represent wounding or wisdom. Chiron was known as a teacher and an educator, and someone people came to for healing and also for guidance. But in the opposition aspect to Mars here, it can really start to fray a bit at our confidence. And instead of bringing forward the wisdom sides of Chiron, we can get some of the shadow sides of Chiron, which is self-deprecation, non-humorous. It's like just lack of confidence that our actions are going to be effective, and that would be folly. It would actually, this is actually kind of like a test, so to speak, whereby there's a lot of support for taking new action, doing new things, speaking in new ways at this new moon. But if you're unwilling to back up your words with walk, right? Because we have all of this supportive energy from thought forms here with Mercury. If you're unwilling to back up your talk with walk, there's a huge chance you might miss it, right? And get into, I'm just going to do some affirmations and then wait for things to shift. But we do actively need to act in behavioral alignment with our manifestation as well. It's 3 parts: mind, thought, Mercury; third eye, throat, Mercury; and then hands, solar plexus, action. That's our Mars part. Moves from the head through the heart to the hands, right? This is how we get things done. This is how we create. We were built that way. The planets reflected that way. It's all one big holographic mirror. You guys seeing it? I hope so. I'm really trying to make sure you get it so that you can work with the tools. All right. Okay. Now, we also have a Neptunian influence, which I did speak to. So here's Neptune. And it's giving the Mercury retrograde a bit of a break right now. Normally, I don't really love seeing Neptune and Mercury in difficult conversation, square, opposition, or conjunction, because Neptune likes to unclarify things and Mercury prefers clarity. They're kind of very opposite energies in that way. However, the opposition is very loose right now because Mercury has backed all the way up and out of position with Neptune in opposition. It'll go forward again, hit that new moon point, and then it'll be talking to Neptune once again. But thankfully, at that point, when it's talking to Neptune, it'll also be talking to Pluto. It'll also be talking to Uranus. And once we have the discoveries from our Mercury retrograde about what's not working, this Pluto and Uranus will work together and over time with our Mercury and Virgo to ensure that we make the correct decisions to get things to move forward more smoothly. Okay. It will also require, I gotta be honest, and I'm going to give you the specific dates in a moment. These specific dates are because Mercury will be in communication with Neptune at these specific dates I'm about to give you. This is going to require that you specifically, if you've got contracts to sign, communications you need to deliver, details you need to pay attention to, you're going to need to check, double check, and triple check your work. Okay. Now, the dates that this is going, Mercury is in too loud of a conversation with Neptune, and you need to do that, would have been August 23rd. That date has passed. Okay. And then September 30th, that date is coming. Within about 4 to 10, let's say 5 to 10 days, including that date, so 5 days on either side, that's when, if you have very important detailed work to do, you're going to have to double check, triple check your work and really discuss contingencies with people to make sure that there's no kind of surprises in the fine print. And because Uranus is in the mix, there's absolutely going to be surprises. You just want them to be the good kind. Okay. And okay, so lastly, I told you I wanted to prepare you. We are in a season that marks the midway point in a larger season of rapid and hyper manifestation in the third dimensional world of form, with Jupiter and Uranus having a conversation over here as strongly as they are. Now, Jupiter expands, brings opportunity to, and amplifies whatever he touches. Jupiter represents faith, hope, and optimism. Uranus here brings rapid growth and change. That could be good change, it could be bad change, wherever you're standing. Uranus is just going to bring change to that. Okay. Now, when they come together, the potential for this to be highly fortuitous and fortunate is huge, 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 huge. But in order for them to come together in a way to bring rapid growth and manifestation, they need to be within roughly 5 to 7 degrees of one another, and they are at this time. Jupiter is at the 15th degree of Taurus, Uranus is at the 22nd. Okay. So we're going to feel it and see it in September. This month is the first month all year. They've both been in Taurus all year, but this is the first month they've hit 7 degrees of proximity to one another. Okay. So we are also going to see it post Jupiter retrograde. Now I'm going to go forward in time. I'm going to get y'all out in time. So remember, I said we're going to see some harvest in the next 90 days, Sag new moon, Cap new moon. But then we're going to go out forward from there, and Jupiter and Uranus are going to be harmoniously conjunct here, right when we get into the tail end of March next year. Now that's the first time they start to be in harmony again. So this is March 24th of 2024. They're within 5 degrees of one another, bringing hyper manifestation. 324 all the way through 625. So that's April, May, and June. Those 3 months, that 90-day window is going to be a window of hyper manifestation. But here's the deal. Actually, sorry, 6-5. So it's April and May, not 90. It's 60 days. All right. Now there is Jupiter and Uranus. They're sitting together again through June 5th. Okay. So September now, then Jupiter turns retrograde and they're not in the same conversation. They're not close enough to be influencing. But we get them together now in September, which is why things are coming rapidly into form based on what we're saying and thinking in the right now time. Super powerful for manifestation. Jupiter will turn direct and then they'll come back close together. When they come close together between late March and early June, 324 through 6-5 next year, we're going to get another season of hyper manifestation. Okay. And it will be especially potent. I want to give you the especially potent day, because that especially potent period of time is also going to be excessively good for love and money when we get out into 2024. And that is May 7th through the 20th of 2024. Boom, there it is, all the good stuff. Now we have Venus, we've got which deals with love and money. We've got the moon, we've got the sun, we've got Uranus, and we've got Jupiter stacked up in Taurus, the sign that deals with our desires. Y'all, I'm telling you, this is going to be a blessing upon blessing upon blessing season if you know how to actually call in a blessing, if you actually know how to work it. All right. And so I gave y'all some tools in this conversation. But if you want your specific tools for manifestation, you want to get in my calendar in the now time so you can work with this stuff all through the end of this year. And that way you're in a position, because you'll have planted the seeds, you'll be in the position for a harvest once we get to this Taurus new moon out in May of 2024. It's all connected, y'all. It's all connected. What you're doing now has an impact on what you're going to see later. I promise you, you can do this. Okay. It's a real opportunity to step completely into a new life. The last time Jupiter and Uranus met up in this particular way would have been January of 2011 in Capricorn. So this is over 12 years later, right? That was the last time we had that kind of fortunate energy. But this is even more fortunate because while Capricorn deals with business and structure and boundaries and rules and regulation and foundation, Taurus is all desires of your heart. Taurus is all pleasure, all sensuality, everything that feels good. And that's where they're going to meet up at this particular time. So if you know how to work it, I am telling you, you will be like, it's like blessing upon blessing upon blessing as we get into next year. But the setup is now. Okay. Let me see here. So this year is basically almost a warm up with lots of letting go and old stuff for the new stuff that's coming in. And so talked about this all year. We've had Pluto dancing at the tail end of Capricorn, closing out a 14-year cycle here. Letting go, because Pluto represents endings and completion. We've had creation goddess dancing here, retrograde conjunct with the south node that has the south node act like a portal to basically allow us to flush away whatever the planet dancing with the south node bears or represents, and that would have been creation. So we were flushing away old creations as Pluto basically killed them off, and the creation goddess now flushed them through the south node, what we have going on there. And we also have Ceres having made some significant conversations with Pluto at multiple lunations this year. And Ceres, I've spoken about her previously. I won't go into too much detail now, but Ceres specifically deals with seasonality to things, moving from one season to another, knowing that seasons change, things do come to an end, they do evolve, nothing stays the same. The nature of this realm is indeed change. And so with Ceres in the position that Ceres is in, Pluto and squaring Pluto, this particular moment of time, even though this is a new moon in Virgo, it is definitely a moment in which we are all letting go of something that is old at this time as well. A lot of people will have wonderful surprises coming in with money and love in April and May of 2024 if we can just get out of our own way in the now time. All right, guys, I'm going to do first look now. That's what I have for you. If something resonated for you, I encourage you to like the video, subscribe, and drop me a comment. How does this resonate for you? And if you know you want some manifestation support, the thing to do is get on my calendar for it. All right. Link is below this video in the description box. I'm over at kmoonastro.com, personal reading. If all you want to do is talk about manifestation, 30 minutes is enough. And then if you want to talk about more than just manifestation, we probably should do a whole hour. Okay, now let's do first look. Let me pull up the next full moon for us. Amazing. So I was totally wrong. It's a full moon in Aries. September 29th, 5:57 a.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, here is our full moon at the 6th degree of Aries. Let's check it out. What's going on here? Got the sun in Libra, conjunct Pallas and the Shaman's asteroid, making this a very growth-oriented full moon. Full moon at that 6th degree. of Aries. Let's see. Wow, she's relatively unaspected outside of that. I'm not seeing any major conversations. We could construe a conversation with Pluto, but that's almost 10 degrees away, so I'm unwilling to. Because not everybody's going to be that level of sensitive in which to feel it. Wow. Okay. I'm into it. So, with this particular full moon in Aries only having major conversations from the shaman's asteroid and Palace here, what we have is a turning point in growth and development in our partnerships based on who we have become as individuals. We're going to have Mercury direct at this period of time. Whew, thank goodness. Venus will have be just about ready to cross out of the retrograde zone. Whew, thank goodness. I was sick of that. And it looks like we might have some interesting surprises in love going on again with Juno and Venus in conversation over here with Uranus. It's a square. Surprises could be a little sideways, but nevertheless, it does look like doesn't look bad. It just could be like, whoa, that didn't go the way I planned it to go. I'm liking this. There's a lot in a season of high change. It does look like the full moon in Aries gives us just a moment of peace and rest, where we're going to get a moment to catch our breath and catch our lives up with all of the transition that has unfolded prior to now. This is a fire new moon, but we still have a lot of earth energy unfolding at this lunation. And it does look like we're going to have some revelation and insight about some of our partnerships. And like I said, why we are in the place we are in our collaborative partnerships and collaborative works. It does look like we're going to have a lot of aha moments with this. It does look like there is I almost want to say like a cleaning out energy. Like I said, there's still a lot of letting go and releasing going on with the Pluto retrograde square to the transiting nodal axis. There's a lot of completions going on this year, clearing the decks for what's to come next year. But this looks like a fairly simple and straightforward new moon because the moon's not highly aspected. So we can utilize this, sorry, not new moon, full moon. We can utilize this to close out things within our personhood or personality that we've just outgrown. You know, sometimes we outgrow like clothes, like certain habits of behavior, certain personality quirks that we've had. This looks like the full moon in which we get to lay those kinds of things to bed. So I like to see it. Looks like a fairly positive full moon overall. But yeah, if you were hoping that I would talk about, the strikes and whatnot, let me know in the comments. And I would love to hear your Venus and Pluto retrograde stories. What kind of things, shifted and changed for you over the course of the last 40 or 50 days. Thanks so much, guys. Take great care and bye for now.